Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are going to review the brand new OnePlus 3 here from the guys at OnePlus. This is their third generation of sort of budget, we'll call it, or mid-range phone, flagship killer, top-of-the-line specs with a mid-range price, new for 2016. This is their third edition, like I said, of the OnePlus model, and we're going to talk about all the good, the bad, and the ugly of this phone. So if you're a fanboy and you can handle some criticisms of your fancy new phone, then you might as well stop watching right now, because this is going to be a very critical and a very honest review of this phone. If you're new to OnePlus, you might be wondering, well, what's all the talk about, and why do people like it, and what's the big deal? So OnePlus started out a few years ago by creating a quote-unquote flagship killer with the OnePlus One, and it was, I think, a $300 and some device, maybe $399 device. It had flagship Android specs in it at a mid-range price, with all the other high-end phones like the Galaxies and the iPhones selling at $600+. Their budget or mid-range flagship killer came out in order to sort of appeal to Android fans that wanted a top-of-the-line feeling phone with top-of-the-line specs, but didn't want to pay that much money. And it was a good idea. Unfortunately, it had a terrible invite system, which was really flawed and really sort of kept people from buying the phone outright. And that was really annoying. They've changed that here with the OnePlus 3. You can go on their website right now and buy one brand new for $399 US unlocked, which is great. It does include a dual SIM. So you have dual nano SIMs on here. So what you can do with that is you can have like AT&T and T-Mobile, or T-Mobile and Straight Talk, or Net 10 and AT&T. And so you can kind of mix and match your carriers there if you decide to do that. You don't have to have two SIMs on at once. You can have no SIMs. You can have one SIM. You can have two SIMs. It's kind of up to you. But getting more into OnePlus and what their idea behind this phone is, if you're considering buying a, top of the line Android phone right now, you're looking at like the LG G5, the Galaxy S7 series. What other players do we have? The Nexus 6P, for example. And you're looking at upwards of $400, more likely closer to $500, $600, $700 for these devices. And so OnePlus has this great device with a Snapdragon 820 processor, a huge 5.5-inch AMOLED screen, 16 megapixel camera, 3000 milliamp hour battery. The specs go on and on and on. So they've crammed a lot in here, and they're only charging $399, and that's really, really cool that they've gone ahead and done that. And they fixed one of the worst parts about the phone, which is the ordering process, and managed to make it so that you can go online and buy the phone outright directly. So they've done some good, they've done some bad over the last few years, and all in all, this is a great phone. And I'm going to start off this review by saying that I like this phone. I like it a lot, and there's a couple reasons why I don't want to use it as my own personal Android phone. We'll get into that towards the end of the review. But for now, we'll start with the good stuff, and then we'll jump into the bad stuff. Okay, good stuff. Solid aluminum unibody construction, incredibly premium feeling device. It feels and looks like an iPhone 6 though. If you're familiar with the iPhone 6 and 6S, or probably more like the 6S Plus because it's a 5.5-inch screen, this thing is almost an iPhone clone. So you've got to be a fan of the iPhone design, with the speaker holes on the bottom and the kind of metal-edged phone and the antenna bands. It looks like an iPhone. They've definitely gone ahead and copied Apple here. So that's good. It is good though. The Apple design is good, and the design of this phone feels very premium. Other good things about the phone: the 5.5-inch screen. Most people probably will like. I'm more of a fan of smaller phones in the 5-inch range. 5.5 inches is nice. It's definitely a big, bright, colorful AMOLED screen. Certain people might say that the 5.5-inch phone fits their hand great. I kind of tend to disagree, but that's just, again, personal opinion. Other great things about the phone: it does have a fingerprint sensor on the bottom that is very nice and quick to react to your finger to. You can also double tap on the screen to unlock it. It does have capacitive buttons here, which I've actually elected to turn off in software, and I use the on-screen buttons similar to what you'd find in stock Android, and so I've gone ahead and changed that in the software. And we'll jump into actually another good point of the phone, which is the software. It's running a customized version of Android called Oxygen, and it's coded by the guys at OnePlus. There's a lot of different settings in here that you can tweak, but it's still very, very similar to stock Android. You can see I've got my darkened screen here, and I've got kind of green highlights, and you can come in here and look at all the different things you can customize about the phone. There's a lot of neat things you can change about this phone, but it's not overly complex like the Galaxy series of phones with their bloated software of TouchWiz. So you're getting away from that and more towards a stock Android feel. In that same regard, it is running Marshmallow right now, so we don't necessarily know when it's going to upgrade to Android and Nougat. Hopefully, it's happens pretty soon once Nougat is released. But it's not a Nexus phone, so it's going to be a little bit slower than you'd find from stock Android phones like the Nexus 5X and the Nexus 6P. But it's still a very, very clean, very, very good version of Android. Other great things about the phone that I like are the speakers, nice and loud, sounds really good out of the bottom there. I do prefer front-facing stereo speakers, but for what it is, it's a good phone. It does have USB-C, which is awesome. It's nice to have that reversible charger, be able to plug it in, and it does have the Dash quick charge, which is really, really cool. If you haven't heard of that, it's a power brick, and it's actually quite big power brick that they give you with the phone. You plug the phone in for half an hour, and you get like 80% charge on this, which is unbelievable. And that 80% charge actually lasts you a really, really long time. This phone, seems to run on and on and on forever without having to need to charge. I think I've only charged this phone once in the past 2 days. 3,000 milliamp hour battery, really, really great, really, really good battery performance out of that. Several hours of screen time, upwards of 3 to 5 hours of screen time on this thing, depending on how you use it. So I can really speak highly of the battery. It does not include wireless charging, which is kind of a bummer because of the metal case. And so that's kind of something that you could think of as being a negative. But we're talking about positives right now. Other positive thing is the camera. The quality of the camera is outstanding. I've taken these photos in natural light, handheld, and the sharpness is just unreal. The camera is probably one of the best things about this phone. I mean, it's just super clear, super accurate, low noise, no fuzz, no JPEG artifacts. Indoor light, available light, just really, really, really high quality. And if you know that I'm comparing this to some of the really, really great cameras out there, like the Nexus 5X and the Nexus 6P and the iPhone 6S. And so, if you're worried at all about the camera, don't be. It's one of the best features of the phone. Other things to talk about that are positive are they give you a little screen protector here that's built into the phone, not built in, but included, already installed when you get the phone from factory, which is nice to have. A lot of people struggle with putting a screen protector on and they kind of get it, bumpy and dots under there and air bubbles and stuff. So it's nice to have one built in from the factory. Other things to talk about that are positive. First of all, I can't stress enough the price, $399. I mentioned that in the beginning of the video. Excellent, excellent, excellent phone for the money. Okay, let's jump into some of the negatives here. I started off at the video talking about the size of the phone. It's not necessarily a negative, but it's just a little bit too big for me. And that's very evident when you look at things like this little rocker switch here that they have for disabling notifications. It's similar to the iPhone that has a little vibrate switch there. And so when you adjust it, you can see how it'll say priority notifications, all notifications, or silent. And so it's a kind of a silencer switch, notification switch. And it works really well, and it's nice and clicky, but it requires a fair bit of force actually to turn it on. And so what that ends up making you do, so like if you're holding your phone in your left hand like I do, right, and you're down here to unlock it, I'll go through a little demo, okay? Now if I want to reach that button, right, I have to like finagle, caterpillar my thumb up there, reach, and then as I'm like pressing up on this to do this, I'm also touching the screen. So like your hand fat right here ends up trying to touch the screen when you're trying to move that up because it takes so much force, right? Otherwise, I have to basically shuffle the phone halfway up my hand, to go ahead and do that, right? And then back down, and then back up, right? Or I do it with two hands, okay? And I hold it with my right hand and then come over here with my left hand because I'm definitely not going to be able to do that with my right hand because you just don't have the right angle, to do that with. So there's a little bit of an ergonomic problem there with their little switch. I think it could have been either in a better place or maybe required less force, or maybe they should have made a phone that's 5.5 inches. But that's a concern of mine and one of the negatives of the phone. The other sort of big and glaring negative of the phone is this screen. It's a 1920 by 1080 screen, and so it's HD only, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to complain about the number of pixels because I think phones with 4K resolutions and all the other crap is a little bit ridiculous. But this AMOLED screen is kind of low quality, and you'll see that when I put it next to a Nexus 5X, right? And you'll be able to tell immediately the color difference here, right? These are the two same backgrounds of the phone. I'm going to light up Chrome here on both of these guys, and I'm going to just open up the Google page. And you can see the difference in color. And these are both, all the way bright. Some people will, the fanboys will say, oh, well, you can go in here and change the display color and make it, more warm. And we'll do that right now. And I'll go ahead and show you that it doesn't actually make a huge difference. I mean, it does help a lot. Let me just go here to the display, and we'll go to the color balance. We'll turn it all the way up, and then we'll go back here, and then we'll go back here, and you can see that it helps, but this screen is just not, it's just not very good. The viewing angles are just okay. It kind of has that purple cast to it. You know, when you look at it side by side compared to the Nexus 5X, you can kind of see the difference. It's just a weird screen. And that is by far my biggest concern from this OnePlus 3, and probably one of the things that I've disliked most about it. The phone is fast, it is snappy, the software does run good. We'll also talk about what 6 gigs of RAM gets you right here, right now too. The phone does have a top-of-the-line Snapdragon processor, and it does have 6 gigs of RAM. But we're going to go ahead and close all our recent apps here, and we'll launch Rolling Sky just to show you exactly what 6 gigs of RAM gets you in terms of speed of the device. And so we'll run down here, we'll click on these both at the same time, and we'll go boom, and we'll see what happens. Notably faster there on the OnePlus 3. And then the Nexus 5X is opening right now. So 6 gigs of RAM does get you, improved performance. Does it get you substantially more performance? That's up to you to decide. It's not going to be a huge difference by any means, but it is going to be noticeable. And the great thing is it's going to be future-proof too. So as new versions of Android come out, this phone's definitely going to support newer software as it ages along the way with that much RAM and that great of a chipset inside. Another thing to talk about in terms of like future proofing is the software. Is OnePlus 1 going to be around forever? Who knows? But there is a good development community for the OnePlus 3. So if you do decide to get this phone, you should check out the guys at like XDA, and then just see kind of what's going on in terms of ROMs and development to make sure that your phone lasts for at least a couple years. In case for some reason OnePlus goes under and they don't continue to roll out software updates for you. So what's my final verdict here on this guy, my end result, my honest opinion in the honest review? Well, I do like this phone. If someone were to ask me, should I buy OnePlus 3, I would without hesitation say absolutely. My only two concerns are the size. I'm definitely a one-handed phone guy, and this phone at 5.5 inches pushes the boundaries for me, and it just makes me a little bit uncomfortable with the overall size of the phone. The other reservation I have is the screen. The color cast on the screen, just this AMOLED technology that they're using just doesn't do it for me. I'm just more of an IPS LCD guy. I just like, the displays in the iPhones and the Nexus series of phones better, the Nexus 5 series of phones better than AMOLED. Now, if you're talking about a Galaxy AMOLED screen, that's a different story. I'd much prefer that screen compared to both of these phones, or actually any phone. That Galaxy definitely has the best screen on the market. But that's my only two hiccups about this phone. If you can go into this, I guess you can't go into the store and look at one, but if you have a friend that has one, or if you want to just, check out all the videos on YouTube and just see what's out there in terms of what other people's thoughts are, I think most people will say that they like the device, and I'm one of them as well. I think it's a great device for $400. I think you probably can't beat it right now for that much money. The only thing I would say is maybe wait for the new Nexus, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm definitely a Nexus fan. I definitely like Project Fi. I definitely like being unlocked and being able to use Verizon and AT&T and any carrier. I definitely like the flexibility that my Nexus phones get me, and I like the smaller size of the Nexus phone. So for me, the OnePlus is a great phone. It's just not the phone that I would pick. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little honest review here of the OnePlus 3. Don't forget to check out everything else I have on YouTube, and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.